And we thought amid all of these discussions of what's going on in Washington, we'd take a look at some things that are going on in Austin. Joining us, State Senator District 9, Kelly Hancock. Kelly, welcome. How are you, sir?
Good morning. How you doing?
I am absolutely fantastic. Before I get into anything specific, anything going on in this session that is way different than what you expected?
I don't know that's different than what I expected, but we're busy in the Senate. We've been we've been knocking through things. We've gone through all the emergency items and moved those. So it's been a busy session.
Let's talk about some stuff under some big issue umbrellas. Let's talk about pro-life things. There's something that involves making health insurance that involves abortion. Tell me where we're going on that. It's SB 20.
Right, SB 20. Actually, we heard that in Business and Commerce yesterday, a committee that I've been fortunate to chair the session, and Senator Larry Taylor offered that. And Mark, this is an interesting bill for me because when I was on the school board here locally, I remember finding out that we were actually covering and paying for abortions through our insurance coverage. Uh-huh. And I brought it up as a school board member and was told essentially there's nothing we can do about it. It's in our policy. We buy our policies from the state. And so what SB 20 does, it allows us, and the Affordable Care Act kind of forced you to provide insurance that covered abortion. It allows you to pull that out and yet still provide it for those that want the coverage. They can add it to their policy, but it allows policies to be offered without mandating this abortion coverage within the policy. And so, this is an issue goes back 20 years for me.
Very cool. And on immigration, there's some things that are going to be heard extending EVerify. This is SB 23. What's that?
Well, we actually heard that one yesterday. So we had a busy day in Business and Commerce Committee. And so EVerify is pretty simple. It's something that our business operates here locally, the business that I'm part of here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And what it says is if you're going to have a state contract that you have to EVerify your employees. You have to certify that the employees that you're hiring, that you're bringing on to use to conduct the business of the state, that those employees have passed the E-verification.
Why does EVerify get pushback? Who doesn't like EVerify?
Well, it's funny. We were talking about with staff this morning because in our committee yesterday, while you and I may hear about pushback, we didn't have anybody testify against EVerify.
Do tell. Yeah, so maybe that's that's very 2008. I don't know because I used to. Well, I'd say what I would sometimes get, and actually, as you say, I haven't gotten a lot of these calls lately, but I hear from the occasional business owner who says something like, "I'm just trying to build houses, manufacture widgets, whatever they do, and it shouldn't be my job to do immigration enforcement."
Well, and I understand that, but as a business owner, I mean, we've utilized EVerify for a number of years now. It's really pretty simple, and you're running background checks anyway. And so I think in this environment that, yesterday was pretty clear, Mark. I mean, we didn't have a single person come and testify against the legislation.
Does EVerify work superbly well, or like anything else, are there gaps?
I would imagine that it's not a perfect, but it's pretty simple. It's pretty easy to conduct, and it's not even really different than your typical background checklist that you go through.
Gotcha. In looking at legislative stuff in Austin, you don't instantly think about a lot of policies that involve Israel, but we've got one. It's a bill that involves state contracts with companies that make the decision. I mean, a company has a company has the right to boycott Israel if it wishes to.
Absolutely.
But then the state of Texas has the right to determine how we feel about that company. So tell me about SB 29.
Well, and SB 29 for me started this, past summer when my wife and I, along with some other members, were able to go to Israel with Allies of Israel, Friends of Israel, and really get to see kind of the boots on the ground, Mark. I mean, we went to the West Bank. We saw all the things that we hear about and read about in the media, but what we were able to do, and the thing that I kind of remember the most, I mean, we walked in a grocery store where you had Jews and Palestinians, I mean, sharing the same grocery store. And so the stories that we heard here, what I saw being there and being within Israel, is that it's a little bit different story. And so SB 29, which is carried by Senator Creighton, simply says if you're going to boycott, disinvest or provide sanctions against Israel in order to do them economic harm, our partners, our allies, certainly huge friends of Texas, then we're not going to do business with you in this state. We're not going to you're not going to take our teacher retirement system and the billions of dollars that we invest through that and use our money to do harm to one of our greatest allies. No, both as a country and really, Mark, as a state of Texas. Israel and Texas are extremely close.
State Senator Kelly Hancock with us from District 9, and he is the chair of the Texas Senate's Business and Commerce Committee, which, as we now learn, has a lot of stuff going on. And I want to cover one more thing, because this is something you wrote an op-ed about in the Star-Telegram last week. It is a wintertime in Texas that has felt a lot like spring, but when actual spring comes, it will be the hailstorm season. And along with the hail has apparently come a new kind of predatory practice. It's kind of funny, called sort of a new type of storm chasers, I think the headline said. This has nothing to do with the weather geeks who follow tornadoes, and I love those guys. But this is kind of like ambulance chasing after a hailstorm. Tell me about it.
You're right, Mark. And what, Texas, because we're such a large state and because of where we lie with the coastal areas, and then we have severe weather elements across the state, and we have anything from what's going on right now with wildfires to hurricanes to tornadoes in our area, obviously hail. And what we've seen since 2011 is a 1,400% increase in litigation per claim. And so, what I want to be clear is, it's not that we've had more events, but these are claims. Some of them haven't even been filed before an attorney is brought on, and a claim is before a claim's filed, a lawsuit's actually filed against the claim that hasn't yet to be filed. So a 1,400% increase, which really threatens the future of being able to have hailstorm coverage.
Right. So who makes that happen? Who comes in and rubs their hands together and decides to take advantage like this?
Well, what we heard yesterday in testimony was, after a hailstorm, all of a sudden you begin to have increased radio commercials offering litigation services, TV commercials, billboards, and literally people going on a door-to-door basis. And
okay, pause, because what you should have is you have hail damage. You call your insurance company. The insurance company comes out. We find somebody to fix the hail damage, and the insurance company pays for the hail damage to be fixed. The commercials. Why does this ever turn into litigation?
Well, what we found is that the increase there obviously is money's involved. Uh-huh. And so because tort reform has worked across the state, I think we have the majority of attorneys are good, hardworking, practicing. And what we're seeing is the attorneys within that area where hell occurs are not the ones doing this. It's right. Outside attorneys coming into an area where they don't have to go to church, shop with them, and they don't see them every day.
And what are they doing? They are suing on whose behalf to try to do what?
They're going to the owner of the property and convincing them that if they just solicit their services, that they can essentially extort more money out of the insurance company, or in some cases, again, claims that have never even been filed.
Gotcha.
And they're bringing individuals involved, where we heard from a lot of people that are involved that come in and do the appraisals, and they'll sue them simply for what you call venue shopping. So you'll find somebody that did nothing but process the claim. We heard a young lady yesterday from El Paso that did nothing more than process a claim, and while she was here in North Texas at a hotel, received a subpoena just so that they could file that claim in a venue out in El Paso.
So the less scrupulous attorney will dangle stuff in front of homeowners that says, hey, you didn't get enough. They didn't treat you right. You didn't get enough of a settlement for your hail claim.
Correct.
Okay. This sounds like, what does this have in common with asbestos litigation? I think we had a black mold fear-mongering. Is it of the same type?
Well, the black mold is something I'm very familiar with, because when I was on the school board, again, we had black mold cases against the school district because it's a very similar model. And so we had tremendous litigation occur back during that black mold time. And so what happened today is, Mark, you and I can't buy black mold insurance. Insurance companies absolutely just quit offering it altogether. And so as a business owner, as somebody who owns personal property in North Texas, we can't afford to get to the point that there are so many lawsuits that our insurance companies refuse to provide health coverage.
Wow. Was that just a ridiculous chapter? I mean, I remember thinking, okay, mold is green, or gray or something. This is black. Okay, so it's was that just a ridiculous? I mean, it
was pretty interesting. In fact, here when I was on the school board, we literally had to put air scrubbers in every classroom, and we had to get the air to the point that it was cleaner in the classroom than when they went outside and played.
Yeah, you're launching a space shuttle from the White Room there in
it's just crazy.
In a school in North Richland Hills.
It was either that or litigation. Well, and then, of course, it went to the point of today you can't even buy mold insurance.
And then they got you. All righty, anything that I have not mentioned? Interesting times, active times, lots going on.
Yeah, we have a lot going on. We had Lieutenant Governor from North Carolina in today. In this week, Dan Forrest had a chance to sit down and visit with him, or actually received a text from him this morning on a little cross-examination with the Texas Association of Business representative when he came before State Affairs. And so,
well, let's spend our final 60 seconds on that. The Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina came here to say, look, for those of you thinking that the North Carolina economy was brought to its knees and crippled because they stood up for traditional gender definitions, that did not happen.
Well, it didn't. In fact, Forbes magazine ranks North Carolina number 2 in business-friendly states.
Uh-huh.
Chief executive ranks them number 3. Site Selection magazine number 2. So, so the whole hysteria on the economic impact, North Carolina. Now, let's be clear, Mark. They're nowhere near.
Yeah, it ain't Texas.
It ain't Texas.
And my dad's from North Carolina.
We've got a $1.7 trillion economy, but North Carolina's not doing too bad.
That's correct. Oh, that's and listen, and what everybody wants you to know, if it's not enough to argue effectively that we want to jam all kinds of gender dysphoric people into the restroom of their choice, but they're going to say that it'll somehow cripple Texas economically. I don't think so. Kelly Hancock, District 9, thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much as always.
Appreciate it, Mark. Thank you always.
All righty.